Hey guys, I'm back here with the Acura. This is the third time this week I've come over here. Now, I just talked to the actual owner of the car and I got a little more info, history-wise, what was going on with it. And he said that this problem with the crank no start started about a month ago, and it kept getting progressively worse. Now, there was never a check engine light, so putting in that crankshaft position sensor, that was a wild guess, on his part or whoever worked on it. And obviously it was wired in wrong. That was a whole nother can of worms that was built in. So right now I think we're back to what the problem is originally, which was it just doesn't have a spark. The coils are not being controlled. That was intermittent. And at this point we put in a PCM, a used PCM from the junkyard. And obviously with this vehicle, Acura, they have the Immobilizer system and the green key is flashing on the dash. So the only way around that is to take it to a Honda dealer. Well, with my scan tool, the Veris, it wasn't going to do anything. But with the Autel, I looked up the special functions, and we can get into the Immobilizer menu and program keys and reset the PCM and whatnot. But to do any of that, we need a specific Honda PCM code that changes every day. They use the last 5 digits of the VIN and the date. There's some algorithm. They crank out a code. You can only get it from the dealer. Well, I got a code somewhere. I'm not going to say where, but we're going to see if it works. I'm going to give it a 50-50 chance of working. I've never done this before, so figured I'd bring you guys along and see if we can at least enable the fuel system, get the Immobilizer set, and see if this PCM works. That's where we are. Alright, so the key is on, and we see our green Immobilizer indicator blinking. So right now the car has no injection pulse and no control of the ignition coils. Now, the Immobilizer system, in the literature that I read, it only disables the fuel system. So this ignition coil issue, again, we'll try it to get through this Immobilizer, get it to work, and see if we get injection pulse back. And if the car starts, fantastic, that'll be a win. If it doesn't, well, we're going to be here until it does. So here's the Autel, plug that in. Let's go to Acura. It's the USA. Start new session. Come on. Please enter VIN. Okay, let me grab the VIN here. I always take detailed notes, and this notebook has saved me a whole bunch of times. In terms of, I forget something, right there. First thing you do, you look at a vehicle, write down the VIN. So, I'm gonna put this in and go from there. Alright, so here's our menu. We're in. So first let's do an auto scan of the entire vehicle and see what we come up with.
Tell me it's still in there.
Alright, initial auto scan. We have 2 faults in the engine computer, which we didn't have before on the Veris. No SRS, ABS, I don't care about that. So let's see, first go to the main engine computer, see what the two faults are. Now they might be from us disconnecting the sensors before.
Yeah.
So
This might need cleared.
yeah, we might need to clear those.
Computer now.
Well, let's see. Read codes.
Start blinking.
IAT sensor circuit high. Okay, those are the two we had before. So let's get out of here. Let's see, ECU information. Let's see what we can get from here. ECU name, ECU ID, and the VIN. Is the VIN the same? So the VIN matches. Maybe it's because I already put it in. But ECU ID, I want to write that down.
Yeah, that's always had.
Yep. So those two codes were from last time when we just tried setting codes to see if the PCM was online. Now we're going to the Immobilizer menu and see what we can do here.
How's that green key things keep blinking?
Immobilizer setup. So the green key is blinking because right now the chip in the key is not registered with the computer. That's why it's blinking. There is a chip in here. I read up on that. Even though it looks like a regular key.
Now how do you get around that?
Well, that's what we're gonna do right now. So Immobilizer setup. So we can do add and delete keys, or we can do system check number of keys and status log. So let's do a system check first. Number of keys, key type. So system check. Turn the ignition switch off. Okay. Turn the ignition switch on. Okay. Key is not registered in the ECM PCM. Okay, that's why we're getting the green blinking light. So that is good information. So it's talking to the Immobilizer. So now let's go number of keys and see how many keys are registered.
3.
So 3 keys registered in this PCM that we got from the junkyard. Okay, that's fine. I don't really care. Key type undefined. Alright, now we go add and delete keys. Add multiple keys or delete keys. Well, let's try adding, we just want to add one key, the one that's in here. Begin to add multiple keys, display an example of the procedure, display detailed information. Well, what did I click there? So these options here are not exactly the same as the Honda. I think it's called the HDS, Honda Diagnostic System. Don't have anything there. Display detailed information. Alright, begin to add multiple keys. That's the only option we have. A registered key is not used. Use a registered key to start registration of keys. Turn the ignition switch off. Uh-oh. We don't have a registered key. Turn the ignition switch off. Turn the ignition switch to on with an original key. Yeah, it's not looking too good. They just kicked me out. We need a key that is registered with this Immobilizer. Dang, and that key was laying on the floor of the car that the PCM came from, or so the mechanic tells me. So unfortunately, in this case, we can't do much.
What's up, Ivan?
Yo, JD.
What's going on?
You want to be on YouTube?
No. I just can't figure that shit out. Yeah, put me on YouTube.
All right. Yeah, guys, it's not looking good here.
No?
Nope, I don't have all the options of the original Honda diagnostic system. I only have, if I had a key that was already registered, I could add additional keys. So
I can get one.
That was the one that was laying on the floor. If I had that,
I'll have to go get the fucker.
I could probably make it work.
Son of a bitch. I'll go get it.
You need to...
Okay guys, this is where we're at with this Acura. I put the old PCM back in. We have no more green blinking light, so the immobilizer should not be an issue. I want to recheck exactly what we're missing. So before, I said we had injection pulse, but no spark control at the coils. No 5-volt, square wave to tell the coils when to fire. Now, I got the scope hooked up. 3 channels here. I'll tell you what they are. So yellow trace is the control for ignition coil number, let's see, it's the white and blue wire in pin C3, so for coil number 3. Okay, for that ignition coil. The green trace is the control wire for injector number 1. That's a brown wire. This is all at the PCM, okay? Right down there. The blue trace is current with the amp clamp around the feed to the injectors coming off the main relay. Alright, so what do we see? So this is a full cranking event. Crank for about 5 seconds or so. So the full event, if we zoom all the way out, that's the full event right there. So here's where key is on. I can even show you where the key turned. So right here, keys off, keys on. We have feed to the injectors, we know that. So on the control wire we should have 12 volts until the computer starts turning that injector on. Now let's zoom in. First event, right here. Injector number 1 pulses. You can see it goes, voltage goes to 0. So the computer can control the injector. I like that. What happens to our current? We get a current spike of almost 4 amps. So my suspicion is all the injectors are firing one time, kind of like a little prime, on a cold start. And then we crank, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 humps. Our next event, and again notice, coil, there's no coil control at all. Next event is this spike right here, which is about 2.5 amps. Okay, so it's almost a little less than, or more than half of the initial spike. Okay, and then we have subsequent spikes, which are about 1 amp apiece. And that looks like just one injector firing. But, make it, easier to see, look at the green trace. We got 1, 2, and then nothing. If it's sequential fuel injection and it's getting the right synchronization from the cam and crank, we should have one of these control pulses every 6 humps. And we don't. You can see there's the actual injector pulse. That looks nice and clean, I don't know if we can see the pintle hump there, but the injector is being controlled. But it's not being turned on, and we have no coil firing signal at all. So at this point, I'm saying the computer, the original PCM, looks to be operational. Even though I called it, I'll admit I wasn't 100%, and now I'm even less sure of that. It sure looks like we have an input problem here, because if the computer can control the injectors, we don't know if it can control the coil, but I assume if it actually knew where the engine was, it would be able to. So I'm going to take a look at these cam and crank. There are 2 camshaft position sensors, and the molested crankshaft position sensor. And I don't have no good waveform. I might have to look at that. But I know before the car ran on just the camshaft position sensors, okay? When we didn't have the crank connected. So first I'm going to connect 3 channels, the 2 cams and the crank, look at the signals, and maybe we'll just keep one of these waveforms up here to see if anything's happening with the injectors. But that's our next step. So we're going for the inputs. Alright, so before I look at inputs, I want to figure out which injector is actually firing to cause that current ramp we saw in the blue trace. So I have channels 3 is still our current. And then channel 1, 2, and 4 are pins 3, 4, and 5 on connector B, so it'd be injectors 5, 4, and 2. Alright.
Get this fucking shit on the ball.
We'll get it done. Am I not reading anything on channel 4? Because I don't have it hooked up. Alright, channel 4. There we go. Everything's on 12. And crank it for a while. Stop it. Zoom it. Okay, there's our event. And check that out. All 3 injectors, like I said, all the injectors are firing in that initial prime. On this prime, or in the second event, injectors, the yellow and green, which are, let's go back here, 3 and 4, so injectors 5 and 4 are firing. Okay, and then zoom out a little bit. We have nothing. So again, injectors 5, 4, and 2 are not where the current is going. I'm going to write this down in my notebook. Alright, we're getting somewhere, guys. This is experiment number 2. And right now, I'm going to check injectors 6, 1, and 2. So before it was 5, 4. Crap. Alright, guys. Second experiment. So before we did injectors 5, 4, and 2 on the 3 channels. And then, the first current event, all the injectors fired. On event 2, only number 4 fired, and the other events, none of the injectors fired. Now, I have the 3 channels hooked up to the other 3 injectors, which are 6, 1, and 3. And again, looking at the scope, on that first event, all 3 injectors fire, so 6, 1, and 3. Second event, which is right here, you can see green and yellow trace, which is injectors 6 and 1. So 6 and 1 fire in the second event. Okay, turning to a real scientific experiment here, huh? All the other events, you can now see that. See the yellow trace? The yellow trace is injector number 6. So injector number 6 is turning on. So initially, man, I got thrown for a loop here. When I said there was injection pulse, there was injection pulse, but it was only number 6 firing. Can you believe that? Look at that, only number 6. So now I'm confident that our computer is fine. We have to look at the inputs. That wouldn't be bad. That one.
It might be a little burner one.
That's fine. Alright guys, now we're focusing on the inputs. We got two cam sensors, TDC sensor 1, TDC sensor 2, and the crankshaft position sensor. So we're back probing. See, channel 1, or yellow trace, is going to be CKP on the blue wire. Channel 2, green trace, TDC sensor 2 on the yellow. Channel 4, red trace, TDC sensor 1 on the green wire. So I'm going to set up the scope and crank it. Alright, so yellow trace, crankshaft position sensor. I don't know what a good waveform looks like, but the signal is there. You know, it's kind of a little, goes up and down a little bit since the teeth on the reluctor ring are a little bent by that ball bearing. Now the green and the red trace are the camshaft position sensors, TDC sensor 1 and 2, and you're seeing like 1, 2, 3, 4 humps, 4 humps. They kind of alternate. See, those two line up there. So the first, or the last hump on the red trace lines up with the first hump on the green trace. Now again, I don't know if that's no good or... And the amplitude here is, well, it's not real high. I mean, it's only what, half a volt maybe, but again, that should be enough. So what we're going to do at this point is cut both wires to the crankshaft position sensor and see if the car starts even with a long crank time, because it did before. That's the next step. Alright, moment of truth here. Key off, key on. Damn. Damn.
What's the injectors doing now?
Let's see. Probably the same damn thing. Let's see, 4. So we got our crankshaft, or I'm sorry, cam signals are still there. We're still getting exactly the same pattern on the... Well, I'm sorry, now something did change here. Something definitely changed. So yellow trace, we still have no, obviously, you know, we cut that wire, we have no more signal from the CKP. But if you notice now, the injectors are actually firing. You know, before we had even spacings, now we see that they're like being pair fired, which is good, I guess. But so let's go back to an ignition control wire and see if we have anything there. But this is a change. We can see if we set any codes. I should have set a crankshaft position code, right? System pass, no fault codes detected. That's what we had before too. Alright, we'll see where we go from here.
I take my dog for a walk.
For a run, yeah. Alright, we're back on injectors. Let's see, 5, 4, and 2, the first experiment. Now we're going to see if all of them fire just from the camshaft position, you know, signal. Here we go. All of them go high, that's good. Okay, zoom out, stop that.
Thirsty now. You tired out a little bit. I'm not tired. I'll have to take that one.
So vent 1, all 3 fired like they did before. Event 2. Okay, we got the one of them firing, then the other one, then the other one. Okay. And then it repeats, it looks like. So they're all the injectors are firing now. So with the crankshaft position sensor out of the picture, we can see that all 3 injectors that we are hooked up to are firing, and it's it repeats. There's green, red, yellow, hump, 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 green, red, yellow. So all 6 injectors are firing now. That is a change from when the crankshaft position sensor is hooked up or it isn't. Okay. Wish I had more channels. Well, I'm going to put another channel on, an ignition control wire again and see if it's doing anything, but I don't think it is. We're not starting up at all. Well, we're back to square one here. So, monitoring 1 injector. Green trace is coil number 3 control wire. Blue trace is the current going to the injectors. So nothing wrong with the injectors here, but coil is still not firing at all. So I don't really know what to make of this. Before it would at least do a long crank time, but it would start with just the cam. Now it's not doing anything. No ignition control. So I don't know. I wish I could try the new PCM, but that has the immobilizer issue, and to even try that you need to go to the dealer and reprogram the key. And if you do that, well, I guess if you do that, then you could use both PCMs, so that might be the only way to try out a new PCM. But the input is there. Injectors are firing, coils are not.